Today we're looking at 5 depreciated Grand Tours you can buy for every price range, from 100k down to 5k. Let's get straight into it. Let's kick off with our 100k car for this video, the McLaren 570 GT, one of the many variants of the 570S, but in this case with a key focus on being a more luxurious and practical Grand Tourer, if a two-seater supercar could be anything like that. In McLaren terms, that means slightly more storage space, made possible by swapping the engine cover for that extra space, slightly softer suspension settings, and better sound insulation over the more stripped out McLarens out there. It also swaps interiors for something more plush than purely race focused, and yet somehow aesthetically on the outside the car remains incredibly aggressive in true McLaren style. All this is supposed to make it a little bit more dailyable, and though it might not fit golf clubs in the boot like the McLaren GT, I think the overall smaller scale and cheaper price helps to be probably the best daily in the McLaren lineup, maybe alongside the entry-level 540C. You'll find plenty of owners on forums gassing the car up for how flexible it is, putting loads of miles on it for a Grand Tour, taking it to track days, and daily driving it as a station car. They still come with the classic 3.8 litre twin turbocharged V8 engine that makes 562 brake horsepower, taking the car to 60 in 3.3 seconds though, so however Grand Touring focused the car is, it's still an absolute monster. For me, of all the cars on this list, it's probably the one that I would find the least comfortable, but at the same time, probably one I'd want to take the most on a Grand Tour. It wouldn't look out of place on lovely mountain roads or in the centre of Monaco. It's a bit of everything. You might just still be a little short on space. They start anywhere from around £75,000, and for our 100k limit, we'll be looking at a 2018 model with 28,000 miles on the clock. On reliability, these have genuinely been pretty good, minus some electrical issues on early models. Some owners have sadly complained about McLaren servicing and maintenance being an underwhelming experience, especially on examples that have gone wrong, which is a bit of a shame. Brand new back in 2019, the BMW M8 Competition was around £124,000, which is around 160k adjusted for inflation today. That is a seriously expensive Grand Tourer to be coming in at our 50k mark. I mean, versus inflation, it's dropped in price by over 66%. You'll find these as both coupes and convertibles within our price range too, and on release it was actually the convertible that was a little bit more expensive, sadly not getting a hardtop convertible roof, but I do think the car looks insanely good with the roof down anyway. As it's a competition, it does come with some serious options available to it, like carbon ceramic brakes, carbon fibre aesthetic parts, and other M Performance parts. As standard though, it's quite rigid, but only enough to get it to handle well as quite a big car. It remains focused on being a comfortable cruiser with a lot of power. That power comes from a 4.4 litre twin turbocharged V8 engine, putting out 616 brake horsepower, taking the car to 60 in 3.1 seconds, so actually quicker than the McLaren, made possible by it being all-wheel drive, despite being significantly heavier at just under 1,900 kilograms for the coupe. Despite being an M8, it was kind of a replacement for the M6, hence that engine may sound familiar, as it was also found in the F90 M5, and delimited with the M Pro option, this car could almost hit 200 miles per hour, insane for a sub 50k cruiser. The car went toe-to-toe with the S63 AMG Coupe, and though the S-Class might be slightly more luxurious, the M8 was probably the more performance model, given there was literally the M8 GT race car, which it provided the basis for, that took part in sports car races around the world. These start at around £34,000 with very high mileage, but for our 50k limit you'll be getting yourself a 2020 model that's done around 50,000 miles. So far they've been known to be pretty reliable, which is great news, with owners only really consistently mentioning heavy brake and tyre wear. Instead, running costs can be pretty pricey, but you should expect that from a six-figure when new car. I recently had the opportunity to drive the Ford Mustang GT thanks to the amazing guys at Motorland, and I can confirm firsthand that this car is built to eat up the miles on a Grand Tour. It's the first car on this list that I wouldn't personally be keen to take on track during that Grand Tour, and instead just cruise along in comfort, making the most of the massive powertrain and chilled out seating position. Speaking of the seats, they're super soft and plushy, which is something I noticed pretty immediately, and though the car doesn't handle particularly amazingly, hence a quite aggressive reputation for crashing in the US, it does enough to make you feel like you're in something a little bit more special. The only thing I personally felt let down by was the quality of stuff on the interior. It looks cooler in there than your average Ford, but the quality is definitely a telltale sign of the car's badge, which has definitely helped it depreciate so much. It's a 6th generation Mustang GT, and on the outside it really is a great looking car in my opinion, my favourite modern Mustang for sure, which has probably happened because the car needed to appeal to more markets than just the US, as it was exported enters to Europe more aggressively than any previous generation, so it had to compete with options from our typical market. That's why we got the car in right-hand drive too here in the UK, which hadn't happened with any previous generation. It's come with a 5-litre V8 block that makes 410 brake horsepower, getting the car to 60 in 4.6 seconds. Not particularly rapid, but the torque is lovely through the range, helped by it being naturally aspirated, but you could of course go for the EcoBoost model instead. You'll find them listed anywhere from around £22,000, and for our 25k limit you'll get a 2016 example with 60,000 miles on it. The engine has been actually very reliable, but owners have complained about build quality, electrical and transmission issues, and oil leaks.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you are, then do hit like and subscribe as well. If only 72% of people watching right now that aren't subscribed, I make 2 videos every single week. I'd love to have you involved. And let me know in the comments down below what company consistently makes the best Grand Tours. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I don't think it's Ferrari, despite wearing a lot of Ferrari merch today.
Now we're on to our sub 10k car, and a car that I think is well past due a bit of appreciation in price. It's the Maserati Coupe, otherwise known as the 4200, the successor to the 3200. That 4200 refers to the car's Ferrari engine. This is literally a Ferrari engine car for under 10k, likely the cheapest Ferrari powertrain on the market, a 4.2 litre V8 engine to be exact, that makes 390 brake horsepower, taking the car to 60 in 4.8 seconds, only just slower than the Mustang. The engine has been used in the F430, 458 and a bunch of other Ferraris and Maseratis, all in different guises, so it's a pretty well-known block. The exterior was designed by one of the goats of car design, Giorgetto Giugiaro, hence it is quite pretty, as Giugiaro is known for designing some of the world's most beautiful cars like the Alfa Romeo Giulia Sprint GT. The interior, however, was designed by Enrico Fumia, who also has had a serious impact on the world of cars, having designed one of Ferrari's most secret cars, the incredibly limited F90. And that interior isn't a bad place to be. It's a bit dated, of course, given the car's age, but it definitely has a bit of a time capsule mafioso feel to it, particularly in the right spec. And despite its age, it's got some decent options like xenon headlights, parking sensors, heated seats and cruise control, so you're not just buying some old rotter. Remember, Maserati have always tried to be a more exotic, luxurious car brand. 8 grand is the lowest that I could find these listed for, and within our 10k limit you'll get a 2004 model that's done around 75,000 miles. The best thing about that Ferrari engine is that it's not got any majorly common faults, but owners do still report that the automatic gearbox is a key source of trouble. Add on complaints about build quality and expensive repair costs more broadly, and this car will scare some people away, hence it's not grown too much in price over the last few years. And as we cut the budget in half again down to £5,000, we have the Alfa Romeo GT, which is an interesting car because even though it actually has slightly more modern design language, it's heavily related to the Alfa Romeo 156 and 147, and of course I have the 156 GTA model. That's mostly reflected on the interior, which is not massively different to my 156 GTA, showing a few key parts, and that's no bad thing. I love these aging Alfa interiors. Like the Maserati, they have some proper old school Italian cool to them. The good thing about this generation over the following gen Brera and Spider is that the V6 option was a true Alfa Romeo Busso V6, whereas the Brera and Spider got a General Motors example instead. However, that V6 is a little bit out of our price range. Instead, I'd probably go for the JTDM, which is a 1.9 litre turbocharged inline-4 engine, putting out 150 brake horsepower, taking the car to 60 in 9.3 seconds. Significantly slower than everything else on this list, but still enough to get you to cruise along comfortably with that diesel torque. It was supposedly the spiritual successor to the classic Alfa Sprint, and though it might turn fewer heads on an Italian Grand Tour around Lake Como and all the rest, in the right spec it's still a stunning looking car, helped by the fact that it was designed by Bertoni, a very capable Italian design house that have been responsible for some of the most unbelievable concept cars of all time, as well as plenty that made production. If you want me to spend around £1,500, and within our 5k limit we're looking at a 2007 example that's done around 95,000 miles. In terms of problems, the clutches are known to have issues, and some owners also complain about dashboards rattling. The electricals are also pretty old now too, so they can be prone to problems, and having lived with the 156 for a year, some can be more annoying than others. That was 5 depreciated Grand Tours for every price range, but you should check out my review of that Mustang GT next, so click on screen to watch that. Thanks for watching, and thanks to the patrons for their support. I'll see you in the next one.